to another episode of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. I'm your host, Dr. Rady Rahban, and we have a fantastic episode for you. It's fantastic because we're going to be talking about revisional surgery, which we've talked about before. We're going to be talking about revisional breast surgery, which we've talked about before, but we have a very special guest. All the guests are special, but Jasmine is exceptionally special because our experience together has taken not a different approach, but maybe not as traditional approaches that I always have with my patients. So remember, at the end of the day, when a person, meets a patient, a person, there's an interpersonal relationship, no different than your hairdresser, your whoever. And because of the nature of surgery being so stressful and high risk, that relationship can often be under unnecessary strain or different, and it will develop. Sometimes it goes south, and most times, hopefully, it goes well. So I thought it would be great to have Jasmine on. We're grateful to have you. I'll have you chime in a second because you're a lawyer, a professional, and you have a different perspective. You had interviewed a lot of people, so I thought you being on the show would be very, very helpful because we don't want to have the same stories constantly. We want to have the variety that really occurs. So welcome to the show. Thank you for coming on. You and I were chatting before about your journey. So just briefly tell me what you had and then where you ended up, meaning, okay, I had X done and then I realized I had kids and this is where I ended up. And the process you went through, which was a very thorough process, which is the process I would hope that all patients go through, which is I crossed my T's and dotted my I's, some people 2 times, but definitely at least once. And this is the conclusion I came to. So go ahead and tell me your basic journey.
So brief history that you're aware of is I had my breasts done, a breast aug at a young age in my 20s. I'm now 45. Served me well for many years. However, I have 2 children. I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. I breastfed both of those children for quite some time, and some time has passed, and I was warned early on by the surgeon that did the first procedure that, hey, listen, this is going to be no different than the natural process that one would go through if you don't wear a bra or if you breastfeed and whatnot. So with time, I felt like I needed to clean up a bit. Also now in my 40s, like my vision of what I want my body to look like is different. Right. I'm pretty athletic, and I wanted to clean up, so to speak.
Sure.
But your priorities change in your 40s, especially after children, everything changes. I've always been a very adventurous person. I hate indecisiveness, so I want to make decisions very quickly. I don't sit on things. I just, I will do my due diligence, I will do my research, but I'm quick to act.
Sure.
But after children, when it comes to health and well-being, it's different because it's not just me now, right? I'm responsible for these other beings. And so I have to take extra great care of myself so that I can be present for them. So approaching this procedure was different than the first one.
Right.
The first one was, hey, we know who the guy is that, everyone goes to, the prominent surgeon. And I just consulted with him and he did it and he did his job. But this time I was like, look, the stakes are different.
Sure.
This is going to be a little bit more complicated because I was looking to reduce size. I'm still young and I didn't want to have horrific scars. I know I don't have the greatest skin, as you know, and we've discussed. I have very thin skin that's not very forgiving. So I definitely wanted to make sure that the person I chose was going to basically rise to the challenge of reducing and working with my skin and making sure that it wasn't going to hold me back in life.
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to add time in a little bit just because I'm going to kind of explain to listeners. So you had like millions of women. You're a young girl. You have a breast aug. Totally straightforward. Surgery goes great. And then as time goes on, 2 things have happened. One is that your body has changed, either by age, because age plays a role, and 2, by breastfeeding. And 90% of women develop some type of sag. There's a sort of descent that occurs. And the other is that what your favorite music when you were 20 is not necessarily your favorite music at 40. And it is very common for women to downsize irrespective of this current craze of explanting, a normal trajectory is when I was 20, this was my lifestyle, this was my body, and now at 40 and mom and I'm at soccer and you happen to be an attorney, it's just not conducive anymore. I don't like pink hair, I want normal blonde hair. So people downsize. The combination of sagging and downsizing is a difficult issue to correct, and we'll elaborate what we end up doing. But in your instance in particular, you just were very thin in terms of the amount of breast tissue you have, which added a little level of complexity. So fantastic. You're like, all right, stakes are higher. I got kids. First time I was just like, I got it. Now I'm going to do some due diligence. So what did you do?
So I consulted with 3 different surgeons, just well-known people, obviously through friends. I have a lot of friends that are physicians. So these were like the top 3 candidates. If I'm being honest, I knew of you, you know, obviously through the community. You were not part of that list just because I had a lot of assumptions about the type of person you would be. And I thought, you know, that's not who I'm looking for. So I consulted with the 3 that I did.
Right.
And I chose one, someone who's been around a long time. I've seen his work. And the reason I chose him is, well, one, because of obviously having seen his work on others.
Sure. You had some basis to go by.
Right. And he was super positive. I mean, we went in, it was like his attitude was like, yep.
No
like,
problem.
No worries. It's like a Tuesday for me. Like, you're going to look fantastic. Everything's going to be great. You know, going into his office, and he has a very busy practice. I walked right in, saw him. He came in. He was just super personable, sweet, charming, and just made me feel like, great. You're going to look fantastic.
So you liked,
and that was that.
You liked the fact that you had a point of reference, people that you knew actually had surgery. And secondly, you liked his personality and bedside, which is super important, that you had a connection with him. Great.
Right.
Awesome. Perfect.
So I thought, this is the total package. But also, you know, I knew that the work that I'd seen was going to be different than what was going to come into play with my procedure.
Smart.
So
right.
it's like,
so comparing an apple to a watermelon is not always necessarily the right thing to do, because I think your case, as we had discussed together, to me it's another Tuesday, but you're not Tuesday.
Right. I'm not Tuesday.
You're Friday. It's a different day than the traditional, hey, I've had 2 kids. Millions of women have had 2 kids and breastfed and have sagging. So good. So you're like, all right, I thought maybe mine was a little different.
Right. So fast forward, you and I have a mutual friend.
Sure.
And I was speaking with him and, you know, telling him that this procedure was coming up. And he said, Jazz, you know, and him and I have been involved, you know, in construction, this and that. And he knows, he goes, you know, just the same way you treat your construction deals, you know, you get several different bids.
Sure.
You should really do your due diligence. You should see Rady for your situation.
And you're like,
do you know who that is?
I've seen 3 people. Like, I've done my due diligence.
Yes. And if I can be candid about what I said to him,
sure,
you know, so I go, I know who you're talking about. I'm like, nah. And so here was my impression, right?
Right.
Is not knowing you at all.
Yeah, we had never met before.
Never met.
Yeah, of course.
Didn't have any mutual friends aside from this particular friend who we'd never discussed you. But just like looking, and I looked at him, I go, God, this guy looks like just, you know, like a charming Persian Andy Garcia. He's going to be like, right, little did I know.
Sure.
So I thought, you know, it's just the typical, like, okay, started, you know, has his practice in Beverly Hills, and it's just how talented is he? He's going to probably ride off of charm and looks and like the hype of the Persian community.
Sure.
No thanks.
Right.
I need someone skilled, right, who's going to really deliver.
Right.
But after he said that, and he and I respect him tremendously.
Yeah, he's and our mutual friend, with all fairness, is a very solid individual. He's not he's a very respectable person, and it's somebody that I think that is a good soundboard.
Right. So I thought, you know what? I value his opinion. Let me make an appointment.
Sure. And worst comes to worst, it corroborates your predisposition as far as thinking. Got it.
So then enter my consultation with your office.
Sure.
So as you mentioned, I am an attorney. I run my own practice. I'm very blessed to be very busy. I'm in Calabasas. You're here, so just even coming out to see you, takes time.
The iron curtain of the 405.
That is correct.
Yes.
So I come in, and it's a busy practice. There's a wait time. I remember just growing impatient in the waiting room.
Sure.
I thought,
we remember that.
Do you?
Yes, we do, because your impression of me is...
I'm really impressed by
Yeah,
your elephant style memory. Okay. So I was getting irritated. I'm like, this is egregious. Like I gotta go. And so I waited for you, and you come in, and well, we know your disposition's nothing like what I imagined. You came in just, what's the best way to put your style? You come in ready, right? You come in ready.
Because you've been waiting.
Right.
Right. Remember, as you know and I know, every coin has two sides, and the coin, your side is, God, I've been waiting here forever. I've been in a room. What the F? I hear all this noise outside, which we completely know. I mean, after 20 years, I know. And on the flip side, I'm running from room to room. As you now know, I haven't probably eaten. And as you well know, I'm trying to deliver, at least that's what I try to do, the absolute most I can in every room, which takes a certain amount of time. And so when I come in, I don't want to waste any of your time, because I know you're already pissed. And I know that you're already agitated, and I have to hit the ground running. I'm not going to come in. I definitely don't want to come and disrespect you by being, by trying to sweet talk you and like, hey, I really want to, you've been waiting. Let me tell you what I think. So go ahead. But that's why I wanted to, so you know the perspective from my end.
So, you straight shoot, you got right in there, pleasantries aside, just dug right in and took a look. And I would say you had a pretty negative disposition when it came to right? You just pointed out everything that was kind of wrong with the situation. You identified my type of skin immediately and all the risks, which you can do the, justice to explaining to the viewers. But you went in like, hey, this is not a Tuesday. This is not, this is a very complicated case because of your skin type. And you knew that I wanted to come down, and it's interesting because something that I've always said, and advice I give to others is, there's a fine line between walking in and telling someone how to do their job versus doing your due diligence and educating yourself about the process of that person's job. So I always say you should never mindlessly throw yourself into someone's hands. If, whether it's going to be your CPA, your surgeon, your lawyer, you need to, do your due diligence, educate yourself about the process.
So that you know what you're asking and you can speak their language to a certain
That's
extent.
right. So obviously I had done some research and thought, this is kind of the style lift that I want. These are the CCs that I want, etc. You were not having that, right? I'm not telling you, and you made it like right off the top. You're like those options don't exist for you,
sure.
Right? And you started explaining about like, if we're going to do this, like you can give me an idea of what you're looking for. Sure. We need to make sure that your expectations are realistic. But how we get there is not your concern. And I'm not used to that, right?
Sure.
So I like to be involved in the process. And I was kind of surprised that I was going to have no say in the CCs and whatnot. And I also remember like discussing and telling you, look, like I'm pretty athletic. I like to do a lot of things. I want to make sure that, if we're going to change the type of implant, I was really worried about, I had saline implants before and we moved to silicone.
Right.
I was nervous about that. Again, I'm a mother of 2 kids. My kids come before my vanity or anything else. I'm not going to compromise my health for looks. I will never do that.
Nor should you.
So the idea of putting silicone in, which I knew everybody wanted me to do that, but I thought, well, what's going to happen if this thing ruptures? And I very distinctly, you talk about remembering the exchanges between us. I remember you taking the implant and chucking it against the wall. You're like, are you going to take that kind of impact? And like, I thought, that's one way of putting it, but it was a great demonstration. Yeah. You're like, this is not going to, with what you're describing, like, and you started explaining it to me and whatnot to make sure that I understood and was comfortable. And I appreciated that, but that was it, right? And I'll let you kind of obviously get into discussing and doing justice to the situation at hand, but you explained all the risks. You explained, and the worst fears, right? Again, as a mother of 2 kids, I wanted to make sure that my health wasn't going to be compromised.
Of course.
And you're like,
totally.
Your health's not going to be, it may be compromised in XYZ way.
Right.
So it's interesting leaving the appointment. I thought, wow. I mean, it was like what might seem on the surface like a negative experience. And then I got home and I processed everything.
Sure.
And I was talking to my husband and I said, this is interesting. And I kind of explained the stark contrast between my experience with the one that I had chosen and you.
Correct.
And I said to him, but you know what? I feel like this is the guy that's going to do it right. Like, I trust him. I just feel like, it's not, I didn't walk out feeling great. And honestly, if we're being really candid, even like price point, huge difference.
Sure.
Everything. It was like, let's go in and tell you how this can all fall apart. You can't tell me what to do. I'm going to charge more, all those things. I mean, everything was a huge contrast. And I just went, this is the guy. Like, I just know that if I'm going to get the best results, and I'm at the point in my life, listen, I've worked my butt off to get to where I am. So I'm blessed to be in a position to say, I want the best. I want the best that I can be.
Of course.
So who's going to deliver that? I said, I just know in my bones, it's going to be an interesting experience between him and I, and it's been interesting.
Yes, it has.
And here we are. But I think he's the one who's going to deliver.
And you were already set on a date, right? You had a date?
I did.
Okay.
With the other surgeon. And then it all fell apart after our consultation. I said, I'm just changing direction, and I'm going to put myself in your hands.
Which has been a pleasure because while our journey has been, I would say more like sister-brother kind of things, two very sort of driven people, I don't want to say butting heads, but rubbing elbows along the way. Because at the end of the day, one thing is for sure, my style is my style. I think you've mentioned that on many occasions, that when you come to the office, you're expecting at some juncture, the veil will come off. Because when it comes to taking care of you and or any of the patients, I'm always on. It's not an act. It's not me trying to be a certain persona. I think of the care that I deliver with such a level of reverence, and so much shit can go wrong that you don't know. Imagine the amount of alertness, and imagine you are taking your kids through a very difficult passage where it's raining, there's thunder, there's a hurricane, you're driving through water and snow. It's a small little passageway, you're driving. Your kids are in the back seat screaming, "Mommy, look at how cool." And they're having fun. They're completely oblivious. And all you're doing is processing, how the fuck do I get from this side to the other side? I could get struck by lightning, the wind could, and your kids are like, "Mommy." You're like, you turn in the mirror and you go, "Hi guys, everything, that's great, wonderful. Oh, mommy loves you, lovely." Now, and then you go back and they're thinking, why is mom being such a bitch? But all the while you are trying to be a good mom, but all the while you're really trying to protect them. My job is to get you from A to B in places where I feel patients need to be involved and their input is of value. I allow it. It's your body. It's your journey. And in places where their input is useless and or detrimental, they don't have a say. If they want to have a say, no problem. I'm not the guy for them. Because at the end of the day, and it's not arrogance, it's experience. And I knew when I examined you that, hey, this is not an every other day Tuesday. And unlike many people, I didn't just say, it is, take my word for it, because that's what happened to my wife when she went to get spine surgery. Her spine surgery experience, and she's had 6, was exactly like yours. We picked the most charming guy. Here she is 6 spine surgeries later. The guys that came to fix it were assholes. 2 of them made her cry. And you know why? Because they were dicks, and they didn't say so why. So if I'm going to be a dick, and I mean that in quotations, I'm going to explain to you every goddamn reason. You may not like it, but I hope that when you walk out, you go, okay. I mean, I get it. I'm a bright person. He explained it in a way I get it. I may not like it, but it makes sense. So you came in, you had this previous surgery because of the nature of your skin and the size and this, that, the other, and I drew it out for you. And my concern was the survival of certain things and enough blood supply. I told you what I thought could happen. And I explained to you that you have limitations. Like, I can't just shrink your breast to a cute little bee because you have a certain space and a dynamics. And what I try to do is be direct, be transparent, and educate you. But I am stressed as I'm talking to you because I'm thinking in my mind, here's a very high-end person, friend referral, difficult person, already irritated because she's waited an hour, with a super complicated case that she's unaware of. That's the worst kind. The best kind of the patient comes in and is like, "Hey, my tummy tuck's fucked up. I'm worried. Can you help me?" That person at least is prepared for the worst case scenario. The kids in the back jumping up and down, not realizing that we're about to get knocked off the road is my worst concern. And no discredit to you. That's what you were told. You're like, it's another day Tuesday. So as I'm explaining to you, I am fucking stressed. And I'm not even wanting to do the surgery because there's no good deed that goes unpunished. And at the end, if I don't deliver, you'll be unhappy, even though you're a very reasonable person, you're educated, but you'll still be devastated. And so all that information that I'm sharing with you, I'm processing. So every individual is reacting to the person and the situation. And the reason, and you've mentioned it on many occasions, and I always comment about it in a kind of in a sweet way. It's like, when do you smile? When do you? And if I'm on the job, quote unquote, if I'm a firefighter, a police officer, a fighter jet pilot, there are like a handful of jobs. There's no smiling, and I mean that tongue in cheek. Of course, I joke and I have fun and I'm whatever, but I'm very about business because it's their well-being. Removing a mole, I swear on my 2 children, I'm stressed about removing a mole. Why? Because I'm worried that what if it dehisces and they get hypertrophic scar on their cheek? It's just a goddamn mole. Dermatologists are knocking them off like 12 at a time. Yeah, but they don't give a shit. So I am always a little tense because I'm always in a cage with a lion. And while I know that lion since it was a cub, meaning I'm experienced, it can still rip your head off because it's a lion. And I have that reverence and that intensity and that focus all the time because not only did I do that for you, but I did that 10 times that day. So the time to relax is on Sunday when I'm with my kid and I'm taking him to a car meet. And if you and I hung out outside of the office, I'll be funny and charismatic, but I'm not going to be that way at the office, not because I'm trying to put on a show, I'm Mr. Business. It's because I'm actually stressed internally. I'm all wound up inside my head. So that is the reason why I'm constantly, now don't get me wrong, there are other surgeons that can be just as high quality and they do it with a certain different grace. No problem. And as a result, and you experienced it, doctor selection has a lot to do with that feeling. And sometimes the feeling is one of like the first guy I went on a date with, he was super charming. He turned out to be a sociopath, the charming one. The one that I ended up marrying was a little begrudging-y. But later I realized that person was solid. And that story has been echoed hundreds of times amongst people who they dated. Like, I went out with this girl, she was such a bitch at first, but she turned out to be solid. And she got my back for 40 years. So at any rate, I found it very interesting because your experience and my experience together wasn't the initial sort of, everybody, if you read the reviews, are like, he's pretty intense, he's pretty direct. But yours was a little bit of a more stark contrast.
Right.
And I think you came in super educated and ready to book with someone else that, let's say, was orange, and I'm blue.
Black.
Yeah, it was so black and white, as you had said. So it was so like, but what I admire is that you didn't allow your initial predisposition, which clearly you knew was not justified because it was based on just what you thought. 2, you didn't let, oh, I already picked this guy, I'm committed. It's embarrassing, what am I going to say? Because you see these people, right? That's a big to-do. You're like, wow, God, I'm going to run into their wives and I just canceled. You didn't let that get in the way, and you really sort of allowed the truth to surface, and you went with it. And I think that speaks volumes for you as well, because it allowed you really went for what you felt was the best based on the information you had access to. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the aftermath. Just how did you heal? How did everything go? Did the nipple die? Like the things that we were worried about. Obviously, you're here, so you can just extrapolate. Things went well. And yeah, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back with the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. All right, welcome back to the second half of Plastic Surgery Uncensored. Jasmine and I are sparring. We got our gloves on. Now we're going to take our gloves off. We've come a long way. Actually, you're one of my favorite guests to have because you usually want to have people generally on a show or something. You want to have people that are going with the grain, right? You get to pick whatever the hell you want. But I like that you and I started opposite grain and now we're, 2 peas in a pod, so to speak, because philosophically, you and I are very much the same, right? We're professionals, we're intense, we're all about it, we're very direct. Some people don't like that. People who don't know you probably are like, oh, Jasmine's such a bitch. Oh, people who don't know me are like, oh, he's such an arrogant whatever, which is fine. That's been my own interpersonal battle for years because whenever they meet me, they're like, oh, wow, you're much more lovely than I had anticipated. Still intense, but lovely. So nonetheless, I'm grateful that we have gotten to this journey. And part of why we're here is because obviously, had we done all of this conversation, you had a catastrophic outcome. While it would have been okay in that we talked about it, it wouldn't have been okay because you're a 42-year-old pretty girl who's married with 2 kids and have an active lifestyle. And we had to hit the mark. And so I'm grateful that we hit the mark and arguably even better than I had anticipated. I am famous for under-promising and over-delivering. I actually want to disappoint you to the point that I don't have extra burden of your expectation. Sally will go in, how did it go? Well, and most patients are a little like, well, it was good, it was very informative, but they don't feel sold.
Right.
And I go out of my way not to sell you. Yeah. Because I don't want you to ever come back and be like, you told me that will be the end of me. That I can't explain. Yeah. If you ever come back to me and I misled you to do something, and as a result you had a bad outcome, I would quit working. That's how I'm very much like that. So I want you to decide on your very own.
Yeah.
So you did the surgery and?
So I've been taking notes as you've been speaking, and I just want to clarify that you never did say, Mommy loves you. You never turned around and said, Mommy loves you to me. Not until later. So the whole process, right?
Right.
But the whole process was like.
But that was my mommy loves you for you because I tempered.
There was no mommy loves you.
Well, it was my version of holding. What I do with Max is different than what I do with Sophia based on each child's temperament. Yeah. So believe me, that was the softest I could be without letting too much off the leash because I needed you to get to your destination.
Right. Fair enough. So the thing about me is I'm a realist, right? I'm not that person that's going to take a picture of J-Lo and go and say, hey, do this for me. Or, sure. I believe that you have what you have and it's the best you can do with what you have. That's the goal, right? It's not about showing pictures. Like my first experience was very much like, show me a picture of what you want. And then I take that picture and I put it in the operating room and I'm going to deliver that picture. I mean, it was literally that.
Yeah.
And this was nothing like that. And so, when you explained everything to me, it's not that I enjoyed, right? I mean, it wasn't like a lovely process going through that consultation, but you did such a great job of explaining it. So you built the cred with me,
sure,
right?
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously an intelligent
this adds
woman.
Up.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, this makes sense. This
yes,
adds
it
up.
Did.
1 and 1 is 2. I get it.
It did. And so once we decide we're going to do something, right? Because it's a partnership. I tell my clients in my office the same thing. Like, we're partners. I'm driving the car, but we have to be on the same page. I will not take a case. I mean, we're so similar. Like, I think I'm a little bit more charming than you, but where I am, but we're similar. Right. So for me, it's not about the money. I know I'm going to get paid with certain cases no matter what. And even if I give the disclaimers, satisfaction, right? I need that. If I'm going to take time away from my family, again, I'm a mom of 2 kids. I have a lot going on. If I'm going to go out there and work to give to my clients, I care. I care about the result. I can't just be like, well, you can't please them all. And you're like that too.
No, for sure. I take great pride.
It gets under your skin.
Yeah, for sure.
And we're still getting paid, right? And we're fine. And we're not, but it's not about that for us.
Yeah.
Right? As confident as we are, right? It's important. We need that. We need to feel like we delivered.
But that's what fills your tank. Otherwise,
100%.
I mean, shit, I could make money in a million other ways.
100%.
You have to get some feedback.
That's right. And so, once I decide okay, we're going to do this, we're in it together, and I do the same thing. It's under promise and over deliver. I didn't think that was going to happen in our case, right? I said, okay, we're going to do this, and I'm going to listen to everything you tell me.
And you did.
I'm going to listen to everything you tell me because, and that's the attorney in me, it's like, I'm not going to leave this little loophole where it's like, oh, well, the result isn't exactly what we wanted because you didn't go into the,
hyperbaric chamber.
That's right. I'm not leaving any loopholes. Sure. I'm going to follow to a T, right? Everything you say, and that's what I did. And I will say, in all honesty, the results exceeded my expectations by far. By far. I spent a long time looking at after pictures from various surgeons just all over of this type of procedure. I did not think it was possible what you delivered. I mean, I really didn't. you warn me about the possibility. Anyone who's watched like Botched and stuff like that, there's that warning of like the nipple dying, and then they bring in the leeches and all this kind of, which we thank God that we didn't get to any of that.
Yes.
So that was a concern. I was fearful as well, right? So the opposite ended up happening for me, right? It was the complete opposite. It's like, not only did it not die, I felt like, and I think I told you during the post-op, I'm like, I'm so like, they're so awake, and it's so like even more sensitive than it was before, because after the first procedure, there was a little bit of loss of sensitivity. And I feel like, I don't know, somehow you're the doctor and you can explain like how it is that it was the complete opposite, right? I remember at a point taking off my shirt, my mom was over, my mom has to analyze everything, the typical Persian mom, got commentary for days. And my mom, if you think I'm difficult, my mom, I mean, it's like the cup is, it is maybe a fourth, maybe at best.
Yeah, that's very typical.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm going to point out what's wrong. In the most rosiest situation, my mom will find the thing that's off. And that's the first thing she's going to discuss. So she's always the best judge because she'll never sugarcoat. She doesn't care about your feelings. Never will. And I took off my shirt. She goes, "Oh my God, it looks like a painting." And it's like, and that was it, because she does not sugarcoat. She salts,
Sure.
And she goes, "It's a painting. I mean, honestly, your breasts look like a painting." And I couldn't believe it. I mean, even the line coming down, you can't even see it. You can't, I mean, it's like, that was my biggest fear, is like that straight line from the nipples. Am I going to have this like red line in the middle of my breast? Undetectable. So of course, at that point, I now felt like, all of that, and I knew it, like everything that I went through with the process, even after the surgery. And let's talk about the staff really quickly. So let's talk about the staff.
Sure.
You go into a lot of these, high-end surgeons, and you walk in, "Hi, love, like, do you, you want some champagne?" We got type A Sally, who is, she has
been working with me for 18 years.
Sally and I are both I love Sally. And if we were to go and compete head to head, we'd probably kill each other. And I love her so much. Her disposition's she's a shot caller as well. Everyone in this office is a shot caller. From the nurses, everyone is a type A. They are in it. They care. They're not there for the paycheck. They're not there to offer you champagne and pay you false compliments. I feel like the whole team is just a bunch of type A personalities that are there to get the job done, which I appreciate tremendously. It's all for my benefit.
Yeah, of course we're here. Everybody's busting their ass to make you happy. I mean, everybody.
100%. And it all kind of came full circle. And I made the right decision. Obviously, I'm extremely thrilled with the results. It did exceed my expectations by far. So pat myself on the back.
Yes. Yeah. Good for you. No, I always tell patients you should take ownership of this process, because granted, I may have done the operation, but I can't go and get you. As a patient, the process of selecting the correct surgeon is incredibly overwhelming. My wife and I made that error, and I'm a goddamn physician, and we interviewed 6 spine surgeons, and we still fucked it up. And I don't mean that in the sense that necessarily they did a botched job, but definitely in hindsight, we didn't pick correctly. And it's just difficult. And so for a patient to get to where they put themselves in a place to win, they deserve a pat on the back. Like, I have 22-year-old girls that come here for a breast aug, and they're done and they're happy, and I go, bravo. Because at 22, $2,000 is an eternity of money, and everyone is going to the left, and you're like, but that doesn't look right. I'm going to go to the right. I go, at 22, I commend you for having the fortitude to know what's right or wrong. So every patient deserves credit, just like you do, because, you had to make choices.
Yeah.
No.
And that was the right one. And it's interesting because, if I can share, so like a little funny, and I shared this with you the last time that I was in the office, I was getting my hair done, and my stylist was working on myself and another one of his clients. We're sitting next to each other, and the conversation's going, and I share everything with my hairstylist. So we're talking, and I was wearing my surgical bra, and then the next door, she goes, "Who did yours?" And I said, "It was you." And she goes, "He did mine."
No, that's fine.
And same sort of procedure. And she showed them to me. I mean, this is how, we're there getting our hair done for a long time. And she goes, "Yeah, I went ahead and I got she was being impatient with the healing process. She goes, "He yelled at me. I went and got steroid injections into the scar." And the minute she said, I'm laughing. I'm like, Yeah, I haven't been yelled at, but I'm pretty sure that would take him there, right? And now hearing that, right? It's like, I know why that would set you off. Like when she's like, he would yell at me, and it's like, because he's right? Like he cares. He cares about you.
Would you not yell? So if you tell your child, hear me out. You tell your child. It doesn't mean you don't love them. You tell your child, listen, do not stick that fork in that outlet.
Right.
Okay, Mom.
Yeah.
10 minutes later, you hear screaming and yelling, and you go there and you're, God forbid, your children's fingers are fried. You're going to be like, of course, naturally, you're going to take care of them, you're going to hug them, you're going to take them, but you're going to be livid.
Right.
Because this was preventable, and just follow the goddamn
But
instructions.
why? Because you care.
Yes, because I don't want something bad happening.
You had already done your job.
And I said, just
Yeah.
leave it alone. Now, because people have done things, I'm like, you're going to get people to solicit you to do this, and just leave it alone. I promise you, give it 12 months. It will be spectacular. So yeah, of course I yell at, I am stern, stiff, and intense with my patients, the same way you are with your children, because you care about them. Right. It's not ego. I want the very best. All I want you to do is come and give me a hug and say to me, I'm so happy. Then I'm like, check. And then I can download that patient from my memory banks of anxiety and move into joy, right? Because my journey with you is done. I've Sherpa'd you to the top of the mountain and delivered you to your vista. And when you say to me, holy shit, this is incredible, I can say, But remember, I have 8 more people down at the bottom of the mountain. And the nature of what I chose to do is a constant stress of carrying people up the mountain, dropping them off, going back down, picking them up, take them up. So I have a moment of joy with you, and then I got to run back down because I got a few more people. But you and I see each other at a party, tequila shots, and all around, have a blast. But it's a very, I'm grateful for that opportunity. It's big responsibility, and I manage it the way I know best. Could I be a little fuzzier or warmer around it? Maybe, but it's worked for me. It's worked for me.
I mean, listen, at the end of the day, I did tell you that.
You did.
I said you exceeded my expectations. I don't say that very often because I have high expectations.
And it means a lot.
My biggest problem is I have very high expectations with everything.
But that meant a lot to me, because for you to tell me that means a lot for me. I will carry that as one of those badges that, like, boom, we took this to there, we did it together, and not only did I manage your surgery, but I managed you. In other words, my actually concern with you and me was equally the concern that we would end up having, we would butt heads to a point that would get in the way of our medical journey. My concern was, while I'm trying to manage your surgery, I was always conscious of how our interactions were, because you are who you are and I am who I am. And I don't come in going, fuck you, I'm the doctor, listen. I believe me, I am conscious of you versus Susie versus Jane, because everyone's going to die. There's people that come in there and they need a kick in the ass to get going. And there's people that you have to be super sweet with. There's people that you need to be stronger with. The stronger the patient, the stronger I am.
Oh, you're trying to blame me now?
Yes.
Okay.
So the stronger the patient, the stronger I am, because I need to make sure the dynamic is in favor of you respecting the dialogue. I'm not that way when patients are like, okay, Dr. Rahban, whatever you say. There are people whose nature is that way. So I temper myself, as you do with your clients.
Right, 100%.
Within reason of who I am. If I have 4 shades, I pick different shades for different people. So
fair enough. I mean, for me also, I'm going to check my ego at the door when someone has the credibility.
But you did a good job, and that's why I managed. I said I was worried about our interpersonal interactions, but you're here, and I give that credit to you, because you did defer. Right now, whether you deferred because you're like, well, I mean, of course I deferred. You knew what you were doing. That's fine, but you did do it. I have patients who don't. I have patients.
I'm also going to give you some credit. Take it. Here it comes.
Okay, I'm ready.
So also at the same time, a lot of doctors have huge egos. So if someone comes in with a certain disposition, they're going to be like, screw you. Like, I don't need this. But you gave me the respect of your time and being very thorough. You're very thorough with your explanations, even your demonstrations of chucking the implant against the wall as hard as you did to show me that if I played in a soccer game and someone ran into me, nothing was going to happen. You took the time to do that.
Because I knew that was a way to getting to to getting to you to be a place of being at peace. Because at the end of the day, one thing I'm grateful for is the patients that come here tend to be very bright, spent a lot of time doing homework, and they're going to benefit from the explanation, because at the end of the day, knowing makes you feel at peace.
100%.
So,
it's that right there.
So you
100%.
You go, oh, okay, that makes sense now. I get it now. Now I understand why I can't pick any size.
Yes.
Oh, now I understand why we're worried about the necrosis. Oh, now I understand why I need to do hyperbaric. It's all about understanding. And when a patient understands, if you're willing to take just 20 more minutes and you have the ability to explain it, they'll be your best friend on the journey.
That's right.
They won't fight you. They won't resist. They'll say, I get it. I understand. I'm also worried about it now. I get it. And so you have to enlist them.
Right, 100%.
Right? So whether it's because they don't have the time or they don't have the energy or they don't want to explain it, I don't know what it is, but for me, it's a no-brainer. Like, that's the fun part. The fun part is to come in there, you know X, and by the time you're done, you're like, oh, now I get it. Okay, I'm on board. So fantastic. The greatest joy is that you're off and now you get to go to the Bahamas and go play tennis and go live your life. And I do agree that we did together exceed our expectations, right? So I always shoot for an A, and every so often there'll be an A+ that just sneaks in. And definitely your result is an A+, unarguably.
100%. 100%. I'm very thankful. You know, I'm a pretty private person, and I've turned down opportunities to be on podcasts. People try to convince me to do it for and I don't. So beyond telling you exceeded, when Sally asked me, I'm like, due to our warm and loving relationship,
exactly.
I will rise to this occasion for you and let everyone know.
I appreciate that.
You know, I always say, you know, being a great plastic surgeon, very few people will ever admit to it, especially in this industry. People walk around denying, everything.
It's a big shame, because at the end of the day, while we all like anonymity and privacy, the ability to pay it forward is 10 times more
100%
powerful than the slight bit of ridiculous anonymity that one has, that I think is just silly. At the end of the day, you know, kudos for you. And we're grateful for you coming on and spending time with us, and importantly, sharing your story. And hopefully, you know, as a result, just like we've been doing, just keep paying it forward. So the next time I see you, tequila shots.
You're going to tell me mommy loves
you?
I'm
going to tell you, mommy loves you. I'm going to tell you, for sure. All right, guys, that wraps up this fantastic episode. As always, 2 parting thoughts. 1, if you love the show, share it with people you care about. Share it with your friends. Share it with, you don't know they're about to head off to Ecuador. You don't know that they're going to go to a strip mall and have certain thing done. So share the podcast so that they can start opening up their minds. And the second is, if you enjoy the show, write something nice. Go write a nice review. A, it makes everybody here feel good. We're all here on a Sunday. And B, it helps raise the rank of this podcast, hence getting it out to more people. And at the end of the day, that's the objective. So for now, I sign off. Until next week, your host, Dr. Rahban.